Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it, and I promise to update daily. If you like this watch, you can see it and purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. Today we are discussing the 2014 to present Lange Sohne Grand Lange 1 Moonphase reference 139025 in Platinum PT950, the heaviest of metals in one of the grandest of Lange 1 variants. This is a rich and romantic watch that's also practical enough to be your everyday watch. It's a contemporary size without being oversized. It is a 41 millimeter case on the nose and 10.1 millimeters thick, or maybe I should say 10.1 millimeters thin, considering the 3-day power reserve and the complications. Lug to lug, it's a very wearable 48.9 millimeters, so I always say a watch 50 millimeters or fewer lug to lug is perfect for a smaller male wrist between 14 and 16.5 centimeters circumference, and this watch certainly fits that bill. The lug spacing, should you wish to accessorize, is 20 millimeters, but I think you'll like this factory strap. It's beautifully made, richly appointed, large rectangular scale alligator leather bolstered slightly down the center, folded edges, monotone black stitch, and a semi-gloss finish on the underside, calfskin and black to match. Longest pin buckle is smart on a couple of fronts. First, it features this retaining bar, so if you're like me and you buckle your watch down to the smallest pinhole, sometimes your strap can get stuck on your wrist because it's so tightly buckled. Well, that retaining bar is there to prevent the strap from getting sucked down and stuck on the ardient or the pin. That's what that bar does, and it is a wonderful ergonomic advantage for smaller wrists like mine. You also note that there's a little bit of a inset slotting of this pin buckle so that the strap moves between the edges rather than stacking underneath and creating height on the wrist. So it actually sucks the strap in and accommodates the strap between the flanks of the buckle. Smart design on something as basic as a pin buckle. Yes, it is platinum to match the case. Let's get a little bit closer now and appreciate some details up close because there are many of them. Let's talk about the case first. The lugs are stepped up and sculpturally separate. There's a contrast between the polish of the lugs and the satin of the case band, and you also note there's a contrast between the polish of the case back as well as the bezel. The bezel has two surfaces. There's the sheer side and then there's the rounded domed profile that leads up to a slightly domed but mostly flush sapphire. The timepiece does feature a pusher adjuster for the date, and it's as fine a tactile sensation as you'll experience this side of a datograph. You will note that the pusher itself features both a polished bevel and a satin finished outer flank, plus it's curved to match the arc of the case. Did I mention this watch features attention to detail? Well, if I didn't, I should have, and if I repeat myself, it's justified. The dial is made of silver. It's not the color silver, although it is. It is a solid piece of sterling silver. It is then silvered with a matte finish to create the aesthetic you see here. There's a small shock of color, as you'll see. The gold Moonphase disc is midnight blue, and then there is a small shock of red at the tail end of the 3-day power reserve indication. You'll note Lange made a few elegant choices. First, the foy or leaf style counterweighted second sand with a small skeletonized counterweight bob, the polished white gold aperture around the date, the pinched elegant white gold alpha style hands and matching alpha hand on the power reserve scale, and the stylized indices as well as quarter Roman numerals of the hour track. You'll also note that the sub-registers are countersunk to add another plane of focus to the dial. The Moonphase is extraordinary and oversized, and you will note that the luster of that solid gold moon disc is what you see. You're seeing gold. It's made from gold and then colored blue rather than polished to look like gold, and that's the way others do it. Lange actually uses gold, starting with gold and then layering on the colors and details. Turning the watch over, by the way, I may as well make sure the watch is out of the danger zone for the day. Bum, 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 bum. And now let's take a look at that quick set date mechanism. A pusher for instant gratification, silky smooth and buttery action. There's just enough detent at the end of its travel to feel reassuringly mechanical. And you will note that the watch features a hacking or stop second system, so you can synchronize to a reference time. Turn it all over. You can see the chaton for the twin mainspring barrels that empower the 3-day power reserve of this watch. And if ever a caseback deserved a quick swipe from the polishing cloth, this is it. Let's talk about the finishing standards, then we'll talk about the mechanical standards. Okay, 3/4 style plate in the fashion of old Saxon pocket watchmaking. That is a tribute element of the design, and you'll note access hatches for easier servicing. You'll also note chaton set jewels for the twin mainspring barrels and then the drivetrain. 7 chaton. Back in the pocket watch days, the heady days of Lange Sohne and Glasuta watchmaking in the 19th and early 20th century, you would find that oftentimes because of milling tolerances of the day, it was easier to create these specialized golden chaton and then fix them to the plates and remove them for servicing than actually drill the plates and bridges themselves. You'll also note that the timepiece features a freehand engraved half bridge or balance cock, black polished swan's neck fine adjustment mechanism, black polished cap to the escape wheel cock, and there's also an alloy that's colloquially known as German silver, but it's in fact nickel, copper, zinc, and that's what is used to create the bridges and plates. That's why it doesn't appear silver like a Swiss movement, instead appearing almost light gold. That's the copper in the nickel, copper, zinc alloy. You could see it, and it will become more intense with time, although it will never tarnish or oxidize because it is robustly corrosion resistant. Finally, you'll note Glasuta stripes laid down with an abrasive wheel, and you can tell that they're the real deal and not stamped because of the way the crests darken as you move from one side to the other. You'll also note, as we turn flush to the camera, the mirrored anglage on the edge of the half bridges, as well as the lips of the access panels within the 3/4 style plate. The timepiece features that rounded mirrored edge executed by hand that you'll find on the best from Vacheron and Patek, and then you'll find even a little bit more about the base plate, which features a engine-turned perlage. Take one last quick look at those screws fixing the chaton as well as the bridges, and you'll note that they are blued or kiln-fired oxidized blue screws rather than chemically dyed. All of the modern standards of technology respected, with the 3-day power reserve, the hacking seconds, the quick set adjuster for the date, twin mainspring barrels to ensure that not only does it run for 3 days, but for the entirety of those 3 days, there's a very even torque release from the barrels to the escapement, and finally, adjusted in a chronometer-like 5 positions. So not only does it have endurance, but it is a very precise timepiece. 447 pieces go into that movement, as do 45 jewels. This is a gorgeous piece that could be your only watch for everything except aquatic activity. I can't think of a better way to spend time with time. See it and make it yours on the Watchbox.